investors are always looking for the best place to deploy their capital, and they have a lot of options. There are a lot of trends that are also moving that makes real estate more favorable. What are some of those trends?
Yeah, I think we always want to have an eye on the economic trends going on in the world today. As you and I talk, there's an election. This is an election year. The Fed is making moves, all sorts of things. And then on top of that, you've got, the real estate industry being this living, breathing organism of always changing levels of supply and demand. And I think when we look at you've got continued rising rental demand. I think that, Alvin, that's one of the keys that we always talk about is, the rental demand and possibly some limited supply coming down the pipe in the coming years in the form of new construction. I know you talk about that a lot, where maybe right now there's a little more inventory, but coming out of this cycle, this current supply, there's not a lot coming down the pipe, correct?
Yeah, well, we peaked about 2 years ago, so there isn't another wave. So whatever is being absorbed in the market now, that's it. And I mean, it's hard to make the numbers work. So if housing is unaffordable for people looking to buy, that means builders aren't going to build it. It's that simple. That they can't build product that people can't afford to buy. So we're going to see a constraint there for quite some time. One of the other trends that people aren't thinking about, and this is regardless of how you feel about it, right, is immigration it is increasing, right? We are getting
Right.
a lot of people more moving to the country. And we always have this looming threat that we're going to deport everybody. The reality is it doesn't happen. What's actually more likely to occur is that we allow them to stay.
Yep.
Whether they're under the radar, whether there's a path to citizenship, who knows? But likelihood, the country wants to continue to grow in population. I mean, you have countries like Canada, Australia, who are very aggressive in getting people to migrate there. We just haven't had a formalized, easier process to doing so. But the point is, immigration will continue. People are still having enough babies to support our current population. And a lot of millennials are now finally entering their house purchasing years, which is about 37 years old. So that's
Right.
another trend that we're seeing more and more of. And it's not just that fact that these are happening nationwide, it's the areas that they're going to be impacted most. And so our investors are actually looking at the areas where people are more aggressively moving towards. And those are the spots that you want to spend a lot of your time thinking about.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head because there's so much demand for homeownership right now, but the pricing and the cost of entry has never been more expensive. So as an investor investing in rentals, you have to take that data point and understand that, yes, inflation might be beginning to stabilize. But it's still higher than it has been. And I think in this environment, real estate really remains one of the best hedges against inflation, because you're also leveraging the fact that the rental demand is going to continue to increase for the foreseeable future. So you're really taking both sides of the coin here as an investor yourself. I think so many people look at, okay, well, I want to buy a home. Great, but you're an investor. So now you're looking at, you want to invest in a home with rental demand. And those two factors right now, I continue to say now is the time to really be looking at working with professionals to lock in new construction rentals, because that demand is just going to continue to increase. And if there's a slowdown on multifamily new construction, what's going to happen with inventory and your accessible deals, right? They're going to be fewer and further between.
And not only that, but the types of renters that are out there, one there's a growing number of what we call the renter. So it used to be that what was a renter was basically, a young couple, a young individual, graduated college, and maybe for 2 or 3 years they were a renter, and that was their typical renter. Now that has grown where, millennials are actually now buying homes at the age of 38. A lot of their life decisions were delayed, like buying a house, like getting married, like having a kid, right? So those are all delayed by a number of years. And now we're also seeing a lot of baby boomers decide they don't want to be homeowners. That they
Right.
would rather live a more maintenance-free lifestyle. And as a population, we're more mobile. We are more mobile now than we ever have been in the history of the U.S. means people are hopping around. People, it's very normal to know someone who lived in Texas, lived in California, and now moved to Florida, right?
Yeah.
That's a normal occurrence. Versus previously, we all stayed in our hometowns. We were all loyal to where we grew up, and that's where we stayed. That's not the case anymore. We're moving around, and so when you already know that you're someone that will be moving around, the last thing you want to do is get a mortgage and be stuck with a property. You would much rather just rent for that 2 or 3 years that you're going to be somewhere and have that mobility to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and those individuals, I think this current generation of first-time home buyer, it's fascinating because the individuals I talk to, they're they're super sharp. They know what they're looking for. They want to buy. Maybe they have to rent, but in some instances, there's a house hacking path there that I think more first-time home buyers are thinking about in terms of taking advantage of some of this current inventory of duplexes up to quadplexes. And let me go ahead and leverage a house hack strategy to both buy a home for me, but then also take advantage of investing in real estate, two birds, one stone.
Right. So as an investor, we have to separate two things, right? We the one is knowing the trend, and the second part is knowing the best decision. So with my son, absolutely, I want him to buy a house as quickly as possible for him to live in because he's going to be paying someone's mortgage no matter what. Either he's paying someone else's mortgage or he's paying his own mortgage. Even better is when he decides to become an investor and someone else is paying his mortgage. That's the best case scenario.
That is,
But so that's I would definitely encourage everyone to go buy a house ASAP as quickly as you can comfortably afford a property, you should do so. But as an investor, I have to know, hey, a lot of people don't feel that same way. You have a lot of very famous influencers like Grant Cardone and others who are saying, hey, you can probably save some money by renting, and then you can just invest that part that you are resting. I mean, what they often forget is that your rent's going to keep going up versus your mortgage payment's going to be mostly fixed. But that's not my job. My job is to just figure out as an investor what's the best place to deploy capital in an area where we're going to see appreciation going up and rental rate going up. That's a good spot for me to put my money.
yeah, the economic trends are rental demand is going to continue to increase. So invest in rental properties.